Welcome to the Fantasy Football Sackos podcast with your hosts, Jason Shellcross and Alex Krogh.
Let's go, Fantasy Football Sackos. This is the podcast you've been waiting for. This is the running back fantasy football rankings for 2024. We are talking our top 12 consensus running back rankings for the upcoming fantasy football season. This is Jason Shellcross. That is Alex Krogh. We are the Fantasy Football Sackos, and I am so jacked for this. We've done quarterbacks, we've done tight ends. Thank God that tight end ranking episode is over. Hopefully it's the one and only to ever happen. And last week we did some receivers, but this is where the good stuff comes in. This is, I think, one of the most anticipated pods. This is, I think, what everyone looks for outside of maybe like sleepers. So we're going to be talking our top running backs for 2024. And then in the future, who knows what we'll be doing. But, yeah. Do you want to start off? Or?
Yeah, so we're doing top 12 running backs. We'll probably do top 24 running backs. We got to pivot back to wide receivers because we only did the top 12 of those. And then we'll probably do a bunch of our favorite sleepers. I think you're like, sleepers is a relative term, right? It's all, we're more of the 80 please me if we could have your wife's drop in there at some point. Thanks, Katie. I appreciate that. So RB1s, we're excited to do that. And also, we're excited to have the second ever sponsor of the podcast, Jason. The first one being Manscaped back in 2021, I think. Sorry, you're not doing the ad read this time. It's me. Because this week's episode is brought to you by Bridge CPA. Do you need an accountant that's more reliable than J.K. Dobbins? Are you sick of being let down year after year and hoping that Jason's analysis will get better just like your CPA?
Oh!
Instead of your accountant being like a Bears quarterback, you need a CPA like a Packers quarterback and always have someone waiting in the wings to come in and save the day. Or maybe you just need a running back like Gus Edwards did for the Ravens last year. Just like you rely on the Sackos for fantasy advice, the Sackos believe that you should rely on Bridge CPA for your tax and bookkeeping services. If you are using a CPA for your taxes that isn't elite like Joe Flacco, maybe you should give them the kangaroo kick, just like the Australian breakdancer did in the Olympics. Bridge CPA was created by yours truly this year and is geared towards small and mid-sized business owners that need help with staying in compliance with complex tax laws and keeping your accounting records in order. If this is something that you're in need of, please go to www.bridge-cpa.com to learn more. You can get in contact with me at the Get in Touch section at the bottom of the webpage, and then I get to touch you. So Bridge CPA is here to connect you to financial success. Again, that's www.bridge-cpa.com. Come work with me. I can do your taxes just like I do Jason's.
We're touting the Packers quarterback history to plug our accounting firm? Is that what we're doing?
I mean, they've made me miserable my entire life, so I might as well try to make some money off of them.
Okay. I respect the game. I was going to say, they've made me miserable my whole life, and some people probably get a little bit of heartburn when they think about accountants. So,
Hey, they go hand in hand. And heartburn and cheese go together, too, I think. So, back to running backs. I kind of wanted to put Jason on the spot here, although he changed his running back ranking, so it's not really fair. But, if you, so I always say targets, right? That's always the thing. So if you look at last year, you look at the top 12 running backs in touches. And Jason can see this because I've sorted our spreadsheet that we work off of. If you have, the most touches, you're generally going to have the most, points at the running back position. So
yeah.
running backs that didn't. Tony Pollard last year finished running back 15. He had 307 touches, sixth most in the league. Najee Harris, we're all aware that he struggled last year, ninth most touches. He finished RB20. And then your old friend Chuba Hubbard, I never remember. Mr.
He's
Hubbard in the
friend?
cupboard. Yeah, he had the 11th most touches and finished as running back 26. So, basically, you want to find guys that touch the ball the most. And so the reason why we have this guy at number 1 is because he touches the ball the most, and that's Christian McCaffrey.
I mean, he's among the most of the touchers. He's certainly one of, if not the most touchers. But I feel like they kind of leaned on him more as the season went on. He had some snap shares that were kind of low. Like, I'm looking at some 60s and 70s in here. Week 17 in the championship week, he killed people with a 54% snap share. So, he had some great weeks post-bye. But there's a couple weeks that I think got
they were also
annoying.
just trying to keep him healthy to get to the playoffs, right? Like they locked in their spot and they were kind of picking and choosing as they used him, and their schedule wasn't terribly hard. He didn't play the last week of the season either, so still had the most touches last year. I would expect that to continue to be the case.
Yeah, I mean it's impossible to hate on CMC. He's fantastic. So he's going at the top of drafts. He's at the top of our draft board. That offense is certainly dynamic. There's some other running backs I think that are just a lot easier to poke holes at, even inside the top 3, top 4. CMC doesn't really have any holes. It's just whether or not he stays healthy. If he stays healthy, he probably finishes as the RB1. He's the RB1 in our rankings.
Yeah, somebody tweeted something. His name is Mason Dodd, which was interesting to me, and it stuck out. He's the scariest player in fantasy football. You either draft a 28-year-old running back coming off of, a bunch of touches, dealing with a calf strain at 101, or you pass on a running back that could score 100 more points than the running back 2. You just kind of have to do it, whether you want to or not, you just kind of have to do it. So 272 carries, 67 catches last year. He had the most touches, 339, the most yards at 2,023, tied for the most total touchdowns with 21 last year, 4th in targets, 3rd in catches. Dude's a beast. If Ayuk goes away from the 49ers, he's going to have an even bigger role potentially.
Yeah, I was going to say that's the other thing is if Ayuk leaves, it's an even bigger role. The guy averaged, like you said, 21 touches a game, 126 yards per game, which was 2nd in carries, 4th in targets, 1st in red zone touches among running backs. He stayed healthy the vast majority of the year, kind of got nicked up here and there, but never really missed time. He's 28, just turned 28, and
he's got at least another year
until he falls off. He hasn't fallen off.
Right, he's dealing with the calf strain, which is somewhat concerning, but whatever. He's got another month to recover.
It's not like the Joey Burrow. You don't have any of those kind of concerns, right? It's CMC. They're just going to do maintenance on him the rest of the. He'll be fine week 1, right?
The rest of his life, yeah. He'll be just fine. He should be going number 1. In drafts last year, he was going pick 2, pick 3, depending if you were high on Justin Jefferson or not. Jason, you were devastated when you had to take Christian McCaffrey at pick 2 in our league, and that turned out okay. Me. Yeah, he's unbelievable. If you have the 1 pick or really any pick and he's available, you should be taking him.
There you go. All right, next up, consensus running back to Breece Hall. I did have him ranked number 1 overall. I was just trolling Alex a little bit there. I did bump him down to number 2 before recording. My Iowa State alumni.
You kind of want to do it though.
I do, and that's not just because I'm also an Iowa State alum, but Breece Hall was freaking incredible. He was the RB6 in fantasy points per game, 299 touches, almost 1,600 total yards, 12th in opportunity share, 2nd in weighted opportunities. From weeks 15 to 18, averaged more than 20 touches and 102 total yards. So he led all running backs in targets, receiving yards, and receptions. The guy was just a machine in the passing game. Didn't matter who his quarterback was. And the cast of crew and of kind of bums that were feeding him are more or less all gone. Hopefully Aaron Rodgers is able to stay healthy this year. He's a top 5 running back. And regardless of format, I have him at number 2. I think he's just dynamic. And I think the offense runs through him. So, Breece Hall.
Yeah, I don't have a lot to add. Year 3 in the league, he's been really good when healthy. He got dinged up his rookie year, played every game last year. The fact that he finished as RB4, at least in the way we do it with half a point PPR. I mean, he was 4. He had no team around him. He didn't really score all that many touchdowns. He only had 9, which is tied for the 12th most at the running back position. Like, if Aaron Rodgers is going to score more points for that offense, which I think he will, Breece Hall will have more than 9 touchdowns. If he was already 4 last year, if he has more than 9 touchdowns this year, I would expect at least double digits, so pencil me in for like 13, 14, 15. Like, he's an easy, like, I just love him. Fantasy Pros has him at 3. They have Bijan Robinson over him. Bijan's also going in front of him in sleeper. So his Breece Hall is going around pick 8 or 9 because as we alluded to during the wide receiver podcast, there's a bunch of these wide receivers going early. So guys like Breece Hall and Robinson are going later, which just, like, you know, you go back
Let's
to
talk
like
about
2020 and Breece Hall's going pick 2 or 3.
Yeah,
But
I was going to say,
that's
let's talk about Bijan, and then after that, when we have our top 3 running backs sort of crystallized, then I want to start picking your brain on where you slot these guys in against the receivers that are going ahead of them currently.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, so first up, let's get through Bijan first. In all fairness to him, he is, Fantasy Pros has him at number 2 ahead of Breece, like Krog said. We do have him at 3 just because of the usage that Breece Hall had last year compared to Bijan's, which was sort of befuddling at times. Thankfully, the Arthur Smith experiment is gone. Really held Bijan back from having that sort of breakout rookie season that almost everyone had him anticipated for. He finishes RB17 in fantasy points per game, 12 in expected fantasy points per game, but his opportunity share ranked 31st. Hello, Tyler Algier. Everybody had him as, some...
My guy.
Yeah, just obnoxious usage last year. Bijan Robinson, 23rd in explosive run rate, 17th in yards after contact per attempt, 25th in yards per route run. He was great last year when they used him. They just didn't really use him. So, not the way that everyone wanted him to anyway. 214 carries.
I clicked on Tyler Algier on Sleeper, and it says, Tyler Algier will, quote, have a big role in 2024 for the Falcons, says Atlanta OC Zach Robinson. It's just
no thanks.
Oh, God. Like, this is the reason why I have Breece Hall over him, pure and simple, is because Tyler Algier just pissed me the hell off last year. The fact that he was getting touches, and you're like, dude, Bijan finishes as running back 9, and he could have easily finished considerably better than that. At the running back position, 12th most touches with 272, 6th most total yards with just over 1450. Only 8 touchdowns, which was good for 20th. Targets, 2nd most, 6th most catches. And then you have, Algier just grounding and pounding. Dude had 683 yards, 4 touchdowns, and another receiving touchdown. Just what is going on? So that's the differentiator right there, is I don't want to watch my number 1 running back get sniped at the goal line, and I don't think Braylon Allen or Isaiah Davis is going to do that to Breece Hall.
No. So where? No, they won't. So where are you drafting these guys right now? you pretty much, well, before the whole CeeDee Lamb, assuming CeeDee Lamb's contract issues are resolved and he comes back to camp eventually, are you going CeeDee Lamb or CMC at the top of the draft?
So this is hard because as you and me have mocked this out, you have to force yourself to take a wide receiver early because otherwise they're gone. So I'm going to take CMC over CeeDee Lamb.
I thought you just said you had to take a wide receiver.
No, I know. That's if I'm at one, I can't do it. I can't do it if I'm at one. But after that, like if you force yourself to take a wide receiver, the draft just kind of falls better because there's enough running backs later in the mid rounds right now that you can be just fine. So like I would again go to Sleeper, mock things out, and we've done enough together that if you take a wide receiver early, it's just like, oh, okay, I'm fine. If you don't take a wide receiver early, you're like I don't know, can I rely on Keenan Allen in the 5th round as my wide receiver 1? Like, you don't really want to do that. But there's just tons of running back value late and in those mid rounds. So it's hard to not do it the way that the draft is currently falling. While I prefer the running backs, the reality is that you have to get one of those like top 5 wide receivers because otherwise they're just completely gone by the time you get back to the turn, right? So like if you're picking early in the draft, like on the way back, you're talking about like Drake London or Devontae Adams or Chris Olave, Ayuk's going 23, Nico Collins is 28, Mike Evans is 29, Debo's 30. Like those are just disgusting names. So it's really hard to say, hey, yeah, pass on CeeDee Lamb and Tyreek Hill and Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase and Amon-Ra and A.J. Brown when you're in the first round because, like, Marvin Harrison Jr. ain't going to be there. And none of those other guys, like, really excite me, as we talked about in the wide receiver pod. So it's a difficult answer.
All right, so number one, you're going CMC. I
eloquently stated. Number, you got to take CMC 1.
And then how many receivers are you going before you would take Breece Hall or Bijan?
I think you take CeeDee Lamb. I think you take Tyreek Hill.
Jamar
Chase, and Amon-Ra. And then I would slate in Breece and Bijan. And then it's A.J. Brown.
Puka.
And probably Garrett Wilson, who I like more than Puka, just because of the cup factor.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, and that takes you to, what, 9 or 10?
Okay.
So that's...
All right, so you're going CMC at the top, wherever he is.
And then
all five receivers, we're going to put Justin Jefferson ahead of those 2 running backs as well. Even with Sam Darnold at quarterback, you're putting El Jefe in front of Bijan and Breece Hall. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay. For me personally, I would take CMC number 1 overall, and I would figure it out. After that, I would go Tyreek and Lamb. Right now, with the contract situation, I would actually do Tyreek over CeeDee Lamb. Assuming it does get worked out, obviously I would flip that back and I would do CeeDee Lamb first. Or, excuse me, not first. Second overall, but first receiver. And then after those 3 is when I would slate in both running backs. Hall over Bijan. And then after that, I would take Chase, Amon-Ra, and Jefferson.
Yeah. Yeah, that's totally fine. Like, you know, it's a matter of who are you going to get in the second round, because the way that the running backs are falling, as we'll talk about in a minute here, like before, like your round 1 would be like, I don't know,
8 out of 12 picks would have been running backs.
8 or 10 running backs going, right? And currently there's four running backs going in the first round. So, like, if you don't get one of those wide receivers, then the value of wide receivers are gone, and everybody's taking running backs when it's time to take a wide receiver, none of the wide receivers are there, and you're just like, shit, what do I do?
Okay, but conversely, though, also, what that does is it makes those running backs slide. So, I don't know.
No, I know it does,
I'm starting to fall in love with the running back start, because running backs on average put up more points than receivers, and you're getting more value out of the running back position because everybody else is jumping on the receiver train. And right now you have Cooper Kupp going in the 4th round, could be a top 7 receiver. Deebo Samuel is going in the 3rd. Like, I would have no problem with like Breece Hall, Kyron Williams, Deebo, and Cooper Kupp.
Yeah, the 12th ranked wide receiver in total points last year had 213 points. It was Davante Adams, the 12th ranked running back last year. With Saquon Barkley, he had 10 points less, but close enough, right? Where they're about, the elite guys are all elite, and then it kind of breaks down from there. So, yeah, I mean, somewhat facetiously, like, you just don't want somebody that's going to get hurt, right? Like,
yeah.
And so at the running back position, it takes one person to get hurt, and you're screwed. At the quarterback position, it could be one of two people to get hurt. The quarterback could get hurt, or the wide receiver could get hurt, and then you're screwed. So, like, it just depends on your risk tolerance. And oddly enough, like, you want to take the younger people, right? So, like, Bijan's 22.
That's really it for me.
Like, Breece Hall's 23.
CMC.
So, like, yes, CMC's 28, but, like, still, he's younger than some of the wide receivers we were talking about, right? Tyreek's 30. A.J. Brown is 27, so, like, not all that much, different. Davante Adams is going to be 32, I think, before the season starts. So, like, just when in doubt, take the younger person. But, as we get closer to the season, we'll talk about this more, because I think it's a fun and interesting conversation. We'll have the Sacco sheet posted at the www.fantasyfootballsackos.com. We're in the process of that. It should be posted hopefully next week. So we'll plug that more on the pod, and we'll have rankings, and we'll update them. So we'll as you register for it, we'll send you the sheet right away, and then we'll have an updated sheet again towards the end of August as we get closer to kickoff at the beginning of the season. So there you have it. Running backs, CMC, who we have at 1, and then Breece and Bijan we have at 1, 2, 3. And then there's kind of a break. We kind of differ from a lot of people here. Fantasy Pros has our number 4 running back at 7. He was running back 3 last year. It's Travis Etienne.
Yeah. I mean, we're just really freaking high on him. He was incredible coming out of school, and he's been incredible since he joined the league. Everyone thought Tank Bigsby, your guy, was
jokingly, yes,
was going to take some goal line work away from him last year. It never materialized. Like, the guy was incredible. He had 267 rushing attempts, which is just incredible usage. Just over 1,000 yards on the ground, 11 scores, and then even more valuably, because that's what receptions are, 58 catches for almost 500 yards through the air on 73 targets. Like, that's just, he's in the top 5 in targets, 6 in targets.
top 7 actually. So total touches was 3rd, total yards was 4th. Total touchdowns, he had 12, which was 6th. 7th most targets, 7th most catches at the running back position. Their offense hasn't changed. I would say it might have even gotten better now that Calvin Ridley's not there. You add in Gabe Davis and Brian Thomas. Like, that should be just as good of offense as it was. Preseason game, he caught a touchdown out of the backfield. I don't know. Still not really worried about Tank Bigsby. Not really worried about Dearness Johnson. He played every game last year. Played every game in 2022 after being hurt in 2021. So, yeah, we're higher on him. He was 3 last year. We have him at 4. Fantasy Pros has him at 7. He's currently going pick 19, which, middle to end of round 2. So, like, you're telling me I could get, one of those wide receivers we were talking about at pick 5 and turn around and take ETN in the second round? Sold. Like, sign me up.
Yeah. And I don't know what it is, but Fantasy Pros has Jonathan Taylor, Gibbs, Barkley, Henry, and Kyron all ranked ahead of him. I do not understand it. I think he's going to be a value this year in drafts for people that follow the chalk because nothing changed. It's this, like, why would it be any different? So I think there's some value with ETN. He's currently going in the second, and I love him there.
I love him there. It's great. It's truly great. Playoff schedule, Week 15 home against the Jets, at the Raiders, Week 16 home against Tennessee. You have no weather concerns there at all. Florida, Dome, Florida for Travis Etienne.
Yes, please. Next up at running back, what are we on? 5. We have Jahmyr Gibbs, another young guy. Jahmyr Gibbs, he split some time last year, him and David Montgomery, but still was able to come on late in the season. Monty kind of missed some time with an injury, but David Montgomery finished with 234 total touches, a little bit less than 200 rushing attempts at 182, a shave under 1,000 yards on the ground, 10 scores on the ground, but more than 50 catches, which is just incredible for a running back. So, especially a rookie running back.
That was kind of split. Yeah, it was kind of splitting time. This from Matthew Berry's 100 facts that you must know before you draft, which is just a must read every year. He's kind of buried now that he's not on ESPN anymore, but Jahmyr Gibbs, running back 4 after week 7 last year. You're always frustrated with Montgomery, taking some of those goal line touches, but freaking Gibbs still had 10 rushing touchdowns, and it just didn't really feel like it because Montgomery had 13. So, still pretty damn good. We have him at 5. Fantasy Pros has him at 5. He's going pick 10. I think that's fine. 25th most touches at the running back position, 12th most yards. So dude was doing a lot with the touches when they gave it to him. Had 11 touchdowns in total. He's solid. He's young. He's electric. He's got, when they're inside, which they are inside a lot this year. I think they play outside maybe 3 times or something like that. It's something outrageous. Playoff schedule, home against Buffalo, at Chicago, at San Francisco. Just so happens two of those games are outside.
Ouch. Chicago and San Fran. That might not be fun.
Yep. They play 3 outdoor games. 2 of them are in the playoffs. So that's somewhat entertaining. But, Gibbs, it seems a little bit early. I'm probably going to take some of these other guys before I take Gibbs. I have him ranked at 9. Jason has him ranked at 4. Just because of Montgomery, and there's just a lot of mouths to feed there between Laporta and Amonra and Montgomery. Hey, I had Gibbs on my team. He was running back 10 last year. He was consistent, but you were waiting for him to be better, and it was fine. He was good. He missed 2 games and still finished as running back 10. But I think I prefer a couple other guys before I take Gibbs. Just because he's not in a split backfield.
I was going to say that might be the case. I'm hoping that Monty starts to fade off into the sunset. But next up at consensus running back 6, we have Jonathan Taylor. Now, Jonathan Taylor finished last season as running back 33. You'll remember he was not around at the beginning of the year last year.
And then he got hurt and missed 3 more games.
Yeah, right. You barely got to see him healthy in 2023. Now entering his age 25 season, I mean, weeks 7 to 18, he handled 21 touches per game, averaged about 100 total yards per game. So, I mean, he did show it. He's still ranked 13th in yards after contact per attempt. So he's still the guy there. He's one of the best backs in the league. He's locked in running back 1. It's just, for me, my reservations with JT, and I'm trying to pull up my individual rankings here. I have Jonathan Taylor at 8th, and you have him at 5th. My reservation with JT is the quarterback there, Anthony Richardson. I'm worried about some sniping at the goal line.
Yeah. Yep, that's fair.
And in watching some preseason, I'm also just worried about the throwing. He looks like a worse version of Lamar to me.
That's fair.
So I just worry.
There aren't any better versions of Lamar, just for the record. So to throw that out there.
I should have said the Walmart version of Lamar, or like maybe the Walmart version of Jalen Hurts.
The Australian breakdancer version of Lamar Jackson. So Jonathan Taylor, had him on my team last year. He set out the first 4 games. He got hurt. This is I think they want to keep Richardson healthy, so they're going to turn and give the ball to Jonathan Taylor at the goal line because they saw how fragile he was, and by he I mean Richardson. Even with his last 5 games that he was healthy last year, he had 6 rushing touchdowns. That was with Minshew. We have not seen Taylor and Richardson play on the field at the same time because Taylor was out, and then Richardson got hurt. So we don't really know how it's going to work. Taylor's good at receiving out of the backfield. Trey Sermon, Evan Hull. They just signed Demetric Felton off the waiver wire. There's not a lot of competition for targets. They give him a big contract. They're going to give him the ball. I would take Jonathan Taylor over Gibbs just because there's less mouths to feed there. Even with Richardson potentially sniping it, he's going to snipe less than Montgomery will, is my educated guess. So I'm fine with Taylor over Gibbs, even though our rankings are reverse that because of Jason.
Well, there you go. All right, next up we have consensus running back 7, Saquon Barkley, the quads.
Just real quick. So Gibbs is going pick 10, Taylor's going pick 13. Just for points of reference on Sleeper currently. So Gibbs end of round 1, Taylor somewhere around the turn. Sorry, back to Saquondo. Saquon, the fun thing with him has been this offseason, the Hard Knocks, and getting to see that whole transfer take place, leaving the Giants, heading over to Philly. The guy last year for Philly for the Giants had 1,200 yards rushing, 288 attempts, 10 scores. Those are total touches. 247 rushing attempts, 962 yards on the ground, had another 300 yards through the air. So he got to double-digit scores, and for him, it's always those all-purpose yards. Leaves the Giants and is now in Philly. He's going to be. They wanted so many people to be the guy in Philly, and none of those running backs have really been able to do it. I'm trying to think of the last great one with this crew is Miles Sanders, but he's head and shoulders above Miles Sanders. So yeah, Miles Sanders would get 1,000 yards and not score a touchdown.
Yeah, exactly, because Jalen Hurts had 10 rushing scores. My question to you is, I view this as a different version of the Jonathan Taylor, Anthony Richardson thing. I just think that Jalen Hurts is a better quarterback, at least currently where they're at in their careers.
Yep.
Are you worried about Hurts siphoning scores away from Saquon?
Of course. That's why I have him a little bit below Taylor. I would also say, too, like, this is an age thing. Like, Saquon's 27. Jonathan Taylor's 25 currently, I believe.
So you're ageist.
Well, yeah. When it comes to fantasy football, I think that's fair. Dude, my knees crack when I get off the couch. Like, it has to matter for a running back. Like it just has to.
Alex Krogh.
Like, I got
NFL
pushed
running
down one
back.
time on a basketball court and my elbow still cracked. Like, I don't know how these guys
white
do
guy
any of
running
this.
down the field. He looks like an ostrich going 40 miles an hour.
Yeah, that's being kind. So Saquon was running back 12 last year. He's going just after the guys we talked about. He's going just after Jonathan Taylor at pick 14. So he's going in at the beginning of round 2. This is a fine place for him, right? Like, they gave him big money. They're going to want to give him the ball. I would not be surprised if the tush push becomes less of a thing. With no Kelsey, they still have a good offensive line. They have a bunch of weapons there, right? Between A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith, and then you're dealing with good Dallas Goedert, and you have Hurts, with the rushing. So, like, Saquon's been around a while. They're going to want to give him the ball. He's good. He's going to be consistent as long as he stays healthy. I think we have him ranked appropriately. We have him at 7. Fantasy Pros has him at 6. He's a good, safe running back pick at the end of round 1, early round 2.
Kellen Moore, offensive coordinator there now. Really am hoping that he moves away from the tush push. And again, as you said, no Jason Kelsey. It's just going to be maddening if Hurts is doing nothing but taking touchdown after touchdown away from Saquon.
Yeah. See Miles Sanders owners a couple years ago. See Swift owners last year.
And that's why, those guys were never drafted before like the 5th or 6th rounds. It's because nobody could deal with that.
Yeah, but this is freaking Saquon Barkley. So,
right.
it's just different. Like, they
do you think
paid him a lot of money. They're going to want a return on their investment.
Do you think he's prone to busting because of it?
No, not really. Because, they gave Hurts all that money. They're going to want to keep him healthy. So, I just... if they're having a tough time pounding it in from the 1 with Saquon, then, yeah, maybe they go back. But I do think that they'll alter their strategy a little bit and run up some Saquon touchdowns, especially when he plays the Giants twice this year.
All right, so these two situations, JT and Saquon, are just so similar. Higher ceiling, higher floor. Which one?
I think Barkley has a higher ceiling. I think Taylor has a higher floor.
Okay. I think Barkley's on such a better team, it gives him the higher floor. Personally, I don't know.
The only reason I disagree with that is because, he could score, 5 touchdowns.
Who's he?
So,
Saquon?
Saquon.
Oh, for higher ceiling.
No, for higher floor. He has a lower floor than Jonathan Taylor does.
Okay.
Because his touchdowns could be that much lower if they are going to the push, and if they're, if Hurts has 40 passing touchdowns, it's possible that Saquon has less than 10 rushing touchdowns. I would be shocked if Taylor has less than 10 total touchdowns. So I think Taylor has the higher floor. I think Saquon has the higher ceiling, because if they want to feature him and load him up with touchdowns, I think they can do that because they have more weapons, right? So, it just depends on what play is called, honestly.
Okay. All right, next up, consensus running back 8. I almost said wide receiver. Consensus running back 8, we have Rachaad White. Now, this is maybe the only value that we have found amongst RB1s. Rachaad White is currently running back 12 on Fantasy Pros. You have him as high as running back 6, ahead of Saquon Barkley, our last guy.
It's true.
Please tell me more about your undying affection for Rachaad White.
Well, let me talk to you.
Cue the saxophone.
some careless whisper action. His current backup is Bucky Irving. Is Rashad
I thought that was
White.
Bucky Irvin dying.
Chase Edmonds is there, I guess. I don't. Bucky Irving out of Oregon. Jason's cracking himself up.
You just ignored me. You didn't even acknowledge.
I'm trying to give the people what they want here.
And it's your analysis? That's what the people want?
Yeah, my urinalysis. That's exactly what they want. So, he was running back 7 last year. Quietly, he's 25. He's in his 3rd year. He has not missed a game yet in his NFL career. And he was simply great last year. Like, truly great. So, Rashad White, 2nd most touches in football, 4th most total yards. He had 9 touchdowns, which was tied for 12th. He had the 9th most targets with 70, and he had the 4th most catches at the running back position with 64. Their offensive coordinator moved on, but, like, all the skill position guys are the same. And he was running back 7 last year. I have him at 6. Like, I don't think that's that big of a stretch. He was really good and consistent last year. And so, he's still young. So, the fact that he's going in round 4 at pick 38-39 is just amazing. It's stupid.
Yeah, I don't disagree.
And he probably has the best value of any running back that we'll talk about. He will be featured in future podcasts just because of how late he's going in drafts. His playoff schedule at the Chargers, at Dallas, home against Carolina, so no weather concerns there. Okay schedule, and they find ways to get him the ball.
San Diego has been a joy to run against, so that's actually delicious. If you're trying to make it to the ship, which all you got to do is make it there, then who knows what can happen. But last season, Rashad White, 2nd in carries, 9th in targets, and 9th in red zone touches. So just incredible opportunities
the usage
there.
Is really high. 2nd most total touches in football. Like, and you're getting him in round 4.
But,
what is going on?
But he was 42nd in missed tackles forced.
I don't care.
40th in explosive run rate, and 45th in yards after contact. So he just wasn't doing a lot with it. It was just all volume. He was just eating the volume.
Just turn up the volume. Give me all the volume you you have.
That's the thing is, they do have, I mean, outside of Tristan Wirfs, which congrats, go Hawks, on the new contract there. But just the offensive line does leave a lot to be desired. The volume is enough in and of itself to make Rashad White a running back 1. And also, admittedly, like, we made jokes at Baker Mayfield's expense last season.
He balled out.
Dude absolutely balled out. That offense looked great.
Quarterback 10 last year.
Mike Evans was a top 10 guy. He was like drafted perennially in the 4th and 5th rounds. Nobody believed in Mike Evans last year. Freaking wide receiver 1. Rashad White, running back 1. Baker Mayfield, quarterback 1. I think I don't see a reason why that wouldn't happen again this year. So I'm with you on Rashad White. I am not with you as far as the dudes you would take him ahead of, especially our next guy. Because
I'm not. I don't have to take him in front of those guys because he's going to 2 rounds later or a round and a half later than the guys that we're about to talk about.
Yeah, sure. He's going in the 4th.
So, like, this is the thing, right? It's, hey, AD, please me. I think he's going to be, a top 7, 6 running back this year. He was 7 last year. And you're telling me I can get him in round 4? Hell yeah. Does that mean I'm going to take him before Derrick Henry, who's going at pick 39?
25? So right
Absolutely
after,
not.
First pick of the 4th. But yes.
Sure. But, we'll talk about Derrick Henry, who's going right at the turn in round 2, round 3, yeah, like, I'm not going to take Rachaad White in front of Derrick Henry because the value's not there, and I'm probably going to pivot to a different position at that point because you got to know your ADPs. So
you got to know your ADPs, ladies and gents. All right. I much prefer our next guy, which I know you're not drafting in the same place. You could draft both of them if you wanted to.
It's true.
Next up, we have our consensus running back 9, the one and only Kyren Williams. There was some late preseason buzz about him potentially starting week 1. I snagged him personally right before the game started. Yeah, and I walked into an RB1 last year, finishing as running back 3 last season. He was the running back 2 in fantasy points per game. He was 4th in red zone touches, 1st in snap share, and 4th in opportunity share. He was 25th in missed tackles forced per attempt and 27th in yards after contact per attempt, which means he's hella average, but all the volume. Okay? In weeks 2 through 17, he averaged almost 23 touches and 118 total yards, played 72% of snaps in 10 of 11 games.
Should be noted he missed 4 games in the middle of that stretch, just for the record, but your point remains.
He was only 18th in target share, so like for me, I think there's maybe that left a little bit to be desired if I wanted him to get some more targets and catches. So hopefully that's something maybe he can shake out this year. But, as long as he reprises that every down role, I like this offense a lot more than I like the Bucs offense. And, that's why I'm going with Kyren Williams as high-end RB1. That's why I like him.
I will agree with you. His playoff schedule kind of sucks. At San Francisco, at the New York Jets, home against Arizona.
That's trash.
You could ask for a little bit better than that. Cooper Kupp is hypothetically healthy, so you're dealing with Puka, Cooper, and Demarcus Robinson, who was really good at the end of last year, running routes. They're obviously not going to be able to stack the box against those wide receivers. That opens it up for running backs. I guess my biggest concern, and I think it comes from years of love of Cam Akers, is just how quickly they pivot away from running backs. So, like, they did it with Todd Gurley, and Kyron's still young. They drafted Blake Corum, who is out of the University of Michigan. He's making good impressions in cap, supposedly, yada, yada. I just don't trust... I feel like it's kind of the Shanahanigans before they got CMC. I just don't necessarily trust what they're going to do at running back. They have Ronnie Rivers, Boston Scott, Zach Evans. I mean, Boston Scott's been around forever. So this is me being down on Kyren just because I don't know what they're going to do. If you're going to tell me that Kyren gets 80% of snaps and 90% of goal line opportunities, yeah, he's probably a top 5 guy. But I don't know if that's the case.
Yeah, the only thing is, for me, they usually commit to one running back as being the workhorse back.
Guy. Yeah.
Yeah, they don't really do split backfields ever. He just sticks with his guy. It's just whether or not you believe Kyren Williams is going to be the guy for the whole year, or if at any point, if he gets injured, do they pivot to Corum?
Right, and that's what really pissed me off about last year, right? Because we were like, hey, Cam Akers, this is a good solid pick because...
And then he was never the guy.
He was never the guy, but the year before he had 100% of snap share the last week of the season.
Yeah, he was the guy, and then he wasn't.
And Kyren Williams was on the team, and then all of a sudden, Kyren Williams is 100% the snap share guy. So, that's just you want whoever's going to be the guy. They're going to be really good. I'm assuming it's going to be Kyron Williams. I'm just a little bit lower on him. He's going pick 17, so middle of round 2. He was running back 6 last year in half PPR scoring. Fantasy Pros has him at 8, and we have him at 9.
Krog has him at 12, which is abysmal. Abysmal. For the record. Next up, we have consensus running back 10.
All hail
King Henry. Yes. We have King Henry up at running back 10. I mean, all these guys are kind of on the same tier for me. But, last year, this one was 29, which makes him 30 this year. And at 29, he was first in rushing attempts, second in rushing yards, which is just insanity. Also, last season, among 68 qualifying backs, Henry ranked 9th in explosive run rate and 11th in yards after contact per attempt.
It's pretty good.
It's just like, is there going to be a drop off? The guy's freaking 30. That's like, he's not in the retirement home for running backs. He's like, I don't know what he's doing. He's stiff arming the freaking Grim Reaper is what he's doing.
He's stiff arming the retirement home into the ground, just like
exactly.
that TV a couple years ago. Derrick Henry's 30. He's 6'2", 247. I'm 6'7", 255. I don't look like him. This is the thing. This is the thing with Derrick Henry.
Is that like you're not muscular or you're not black?
Just both. Very white. So Derrick Henry, 5th most touches last year.
I don't look like him. That is the most absurd thing you've ever said.
It's true.
You're a white accountant from Chicago. You're an accountant.
Bridge-CPA.com for all your accounting needs. So he had 12.
If I'm
total.
Derrick Henry, I'm offended you even made that comparison.
I'm just talking about the weight.
Okay.
Like, hey man, like when you and me stand next to each other, you look like oh god, what's that Alabama picture? So I'm Derrick Henry, and you are Ingram.
Mark Ingram.
Mark Ingram standing next to him, like, damn, that dude big. So except I have no muscle. So here's my thing. I have Derrick Henry at 8. Fantasy Pros has him at 9. We have him at 10. He's going in round, like, at the turn. So early round or late round 2, early round 3. Here's been his finishes in fantasy football since 2018. 15, 5, 3, 21. He missed a couple games. 4 and 8. He had 12 touchdowns last year. Gus Edwards had 13. Like, we've always talked about Derrick Henry not receiving the ball. The Ravens don't do that anyway, so it doesn't matter. He's going to have so many goal line touches because what they did last year was keep Lamar clean. They're going to give it to Derrick Henry. Justice Hill's still there. Keaton Mitchell's coming off of an injury.
None of those guys matter.
I don't think it matter either. Yeah. I love Henry in round 2.
You love Henry in round 2?
I do. Dude's going to score so many touchdowns in that offense. Like, he might have 20 touchdowns this year.
They would all be rushing.
Yes.
Your touchdown leader last year was CMC with 14. Oh, no, actually, just kidding. Raheem Mostert had 18.
Yeah. So Derrick Henry's touchdowns.
Will you do a board bet on Derrick Henry touchdowns?
Yeah, so Derrick Henry's rushing touchdowns since 2018. 12, 16, 17, 10, when he only finished as running back 21. 13 and 12. So he's been in double digits each of the last 6 years.
So I want a board bet on Derrick Henry rushing touchdowns.
Okay.
You're talking a lot of smack here.
Would you like to set the number?
Yeah, over under 15.5.
I'll take the over.
Okay, put it on the board.
Yep. I'll write that in right now.
Only one running back exceeded 15.5 last year, and that was Raheem Mostert.
Yep. That's fine. That's an easy win for me.
Easy win at 16, he says. That's one per week, basically.
Yes.
Would you
know.
What would you have done over under 17.5?
I'm just not taking the under. You can set it whatever you want. It does not matter.
I should have gone higher.
You should have. Gus Edwards had one touchdown through 6 weeks last year and ended with 13. So yeah, doesn't matter the number. I'll take the over.
He's really good. He's just old. That's really the long and the short of it. And one of these, one of these years it's going to fall off. I just don't know when the hell that's going to be, and I don't want to be caught holding the bag. But if there's any offense that's going to be highly efficient and make it easy for him to capitalize, it's going to be the Baltimore offense. So
that's right.
He's going to do wonders for Lamar in that just option game. It's going to be really fun to watch.
As much as it pains me to say it, it's an upgrade over Gus Edwards.
Yeah, only marginally, right, Alex? Just very, very small. Very small.
If there ever was a my guy.
Yeah, yes. All right. Ready to move on, shall we? Consensus running back 11, Josh Jacobs. Last year's running back 27 finished with 230 some odd carries, about 800 yards on the ground, 6 scores on the ground, a shave under 40 receptions, and another 300 yards through the air. Josh Jacobs, he did pretty well. He only played 13 games. He had a quad strain week 13. Really didn't exactly look the same after that. In 2022, he ranked 18th in yards per touch, 13th in yards created per touch, and second in evaded tackles. Easy for me to say. Last year, he was the 12th highest stuff rate, while also crawling in at 37th in missed tackles forced. So it could be a bit of a bounce back. It should be more or less an elite role on a good offense. Jordan Love really had them cooking last year. Are you concerned at all about A.J. Dillon? It doesn't look like it based on your ranking.
I freaking hate A.J. Dillon.
Yeah.
When they run that draw play up the middle that he gets 0 yards for every time, Peter LaFleur needs to show up and throw a wrench at him. Matt LaFleur, what are you doing? Stop running the damn draw play up the middle out of the shotgun with A.J. Dillon. Everybody knows it's coming. I know that they're going to get Josh Jacobs a touchdown catch because he's never had one in his career. And I believe he's about to eclipse the record for most catches to start a career without a receiving touchdown. This is purely I think their offense is good. I trust their head coach, and they gave him a big contract. They moved on from Aaron Jones. So he's currently going pick 26. It's a little early, I guess, but he's going to get the ball a ton. They're going to run the ball. It's a bad weather team. They are built for this type of team. Their playoff schedule at Seattle, home against New Orleans, at Minnesota. That's totally fine. They targeted Josh Jacobs. He's still only 26. They're going to turn around and give him the ball. The offensive prowess that they were in and where they went to is a huge upgrade for Josh Jacobs. And so, yeah, I'd be shocked if he's not an RB1 or better. It's just setting up really well for him.
The Packers did draft Marshawn Lloyd in the 3rd round with pick 88. Marshawn Lloyd played primarily for the South Carolina Gamecocks first few years of his college career, transferred to USC, where he promptly averaged 7.1 yards per carry last year.
Yeah, that's because they were worried about Caleb Williams slicing and dicing him.
He ran sub 4.540, so he does have some juice. He could also mix in there, perhaps. So I don't know. They've never, as solid as the Rams have been with picking one guy and sticking with one guy, is as annoying as it is to roster a Packers running back. I mean,
it's true. I think
Aaron Jones was.
I think I'll probably end up dropping Jacobs a little bit, just because like I saw him here, I was like, I don't really like this, but like it's the upside's clearly there. Like Aaron Jones will like go off like 2 or 3 times a year, and you hope you're starting him. I feel like Jacobs is going to be like very consistent, like 15 carries, 70 yards, and if he falls into the end zone, that's great, right? Like. So is that somebody that you're looking for? But like catches wise, right? Like he had 54 catches in 21, he had 53 catches in 22, he had 37 last year on 54 targets. That team was trash. So he can catch the ball out of the backfield too. I'm assuming he's going to be the receiving threat of those running backs. So like he feels very safe as. Where we have him here, I bet he will end up getting dropped a little bit in our final rankings, though.
Yeah, I hope so, because I like our next guy a ton more. Our last running back tonight, consensus running back 12, is Isaiah Pacheco, my running back 10. Pacheco was, honestly, in a word, incredible to finish out the year. In my mind, I think the defense probably gets the most credit for winning them the Super Bowl last year, but I think Isaiah Pacheco is right behind Chris Jones in that defense. Last season, just over 200 rushing attempts, 930 rush yards, 7 scores on the ground, which to me, I was surprised didn't hit double digits just because of the usage. But 44 receptions, 250 yards. I'm really excited to see that number go up. The Kansas City Chiefs did not retain Jerick McKinnon. If they go into this season without Jerick McKinnon, I am freaking hammering Isaiah Pacheco. So, in the 4 games that he played without McKinnon active last year, Pacheco averaged just over 20 touches and 100 total yards each game. He played at least 70% of the snaps in 3 out of 4 of those games, so he was the guy. He was wonderful. He can run the rock. He was 12th in explosive run rate and 26th in yards after contact per attempt. So as long as they, utilize him even a smidge, if they don't re-sign McKinnon, I think he's probably, he could be a top 6 guy.
Yeah, again, going back to Matthew Berry, when Pacheco didn't play, he averaged 19.9 points per game. That would have been good for RB3 in PPR last year.
What do you mean when Pacheco didn't play?
Or sorry, when McKinnon was not active. That includes playoff touches. So
he's going in the middle end of 3rd round.
Yeah, good value there. I think I'll end up bumping him quite a bit after reading a little bit more. Again, these are more of our preliminary analysis, and we kind of talk through things on the podcast, which helps both of us, and I hope it helps the listener too. And this was more of like a McKinnon thing, right? So he missed 3 games last year. Again, everybody sat on the Chiefs at the end of the season. The snap share was never really that great. Like he was over 80% once the whole year from like a snap percentage perspective. They would defer to McKinnon, and they played Clyde, and they drafted Carson Steele out of UCLA this year. Or sorry, he was undrafted free agent. My bad. So it's pretty much Pacheco's show as he, gets a 3-yard carry and walks around like he just ran for 15 yards and trucks 7 people after every carry. So this is like, if the touchdown upside is there, that would be great. He had 5 as a rookie, 7 last year. This is more of a projection, right? Because like Mahomes was really good last year, but he didn't throw for a lot of touchdowns. And so if he throws for more touchdowns, I would say Pacheco's value goes down. But he had 44 catches last year, so maybe not. And if McKinnon's not there, he should have more catches. I think Pacheco's
I think you're too low on him.
I think I am too. And so the fact that he's going, middle to end of round 3, again, this is, going back to our original conversation. This is, hey, you force the wideout, and then you can take, like Jonathan Taylor and Pacheco the next 2 rounds, hypothetically. So like, you're doing good if you don't take Bijan Robinson. Like, you've taken a top 5 wide receiver, and then you've gotten 2 number 1 guys that are probably relatively undisputed in rounds 2 and 3 at the running back spot. So, like, just the value of running backs and how far they're going down, there's good value. There's one guy that we haven't talked about that kind of concludes the top 12. We're running a little bit late here from like a timing perspective, but I do think it's worth bringing up. The one guy that's in Fantasy Pros, top 11 that we haven't really touched base on is Devon Achane. This is mostly my fault. I haven't done it 18, mostly because Mostert hasn't gone anywhere. Devon Achane is Fantasy Pros number 11 running back, so I do think it's worth talking about him in a RB1 capacity. Jason, you have an 11. He's currently going pick 22, which is the end of round 2, which is just insanely early for at least for me. He was on my team last year. He was hurt. He was electric when he played. Mostert's still there. He's changed his running style, supposedly. This is just a pure speculation guess and why I'm staying away from him this year.
Yeah, so basically he was just really freaking good. He was first in explosive run rate, third in missed tackles forced per attempt, and second in yards after contact per attempt. He was Tecmo Bowl. He was
the first like 3 or 4 starts. He was unbelievable.
He was the human joystick. And even when he came back after his injury, he was still incredible. If he can overtake,
he was just okay. Just for the record, he was fine.
If he can
he exploded. 203 yards, 2 touchdowns, 100 yards, 2 touchdowns, 151 yards, a touchdown. Hurt, missed 1, 2, 3, 4. Came back, got hurt, missed another game after that. Snap share was in like the 40s, 50s. And he scored, 1 touchdown the last 5 games that he played. Like, that's a big projection to be taking him as your RB1 in round 2. That's a big projection. When Mostert might be the one again. Who led the NFL in rushing touchdowns last year?
Mostert has basically never gone a season in his career without being hurt. He is 32.
Neither is Achane, but he's only 22. But I understand your point.
Like, Mostert is not a concern for me, for Achane.
Is Jalen Wright a concern for you?
He could be in the second half. Jalen Wright is really freaking good, too. I mean, he's fantastic. Yeah. He was the speed demon that came out of Tennessee.
Right. He just carried 10 times for 55 yards and a touchdown in the preseason game. So, like, it's just like an embarrassment of riches. I trust their offensive coordinator. Hey, I want whoever's getting the goal line carry. Nobody knows who that was. It was Mostert last year. So, to project Achane, if he is the goal line back, great. But I feel like people are taking him at his ceiling and are not incorporating the floor.
They're not. If they were taking him at his ceiling, he'd be going in the first round, which I've seen him go in the first round. Dude, combine him with Mostert. Combine his stats with Mostert. That's what the ceiling is.
That's not what they do in Miami.
I'm telling you, that's what the ceiling is, though. If one of them gets hurt, it goes to the other guy, and then
they just bring in the next guy, though. Like they just bring in Jeff Wilson Jr., who's still freaking there.
All you need is Achane to overtake Mostert as the goal line guy and get half of those 18 touchdowns.
Right. So as an example, Mostert didn't play the last 2 weeks of the year. So like, hey, it's the Devon Achane show. His snap share was 48% and 63%. Jeff Wilson Jr.'s snap share those 2 weeks was 49% and 48%. Like, they're just going to rotate running backs regardless of who is healthy. They'll just plug the next guy in, and so you're just not. It's a big ask to get more than like a 60% snap share there.
Yeah, and he also had 24 fantasy points on a 48% when he had 100 rushing yards and a receiving touchdown. And then the last week of the season, I don't know if stats matter. So, but I get what you're saying.
Yeah, there's just a lot of risk there. The reward is clearly there. I get it. He could win you a week. There's no doubt about it. It's just...
He's, to me, infinitely more valuable than Josh Jacobs.
Okay, fine. Playoff schedule at Houston, home against San Francisco, at Cleveland.
Okay, that's not so great, but also their offense, like, it didn't matter with last year. I don't know.
No,
they dropped 70 on a, like, what was it, or 80 points on a team last year?
Hold on, it actually gets worse. Let's go back to week 12. Home against New England, at Green Bay, home against the Jets, at Houston, home against San Francisco, at Cleveland, at the Jets. That is so bad.
I mean, it could be. I don't know. They blanked the Jets 30-0 last year, and then the second time they played the Jets,
that was weird. It's not Aaron Rodgers' list, and that was a weird Thanksgiving game that Mostert scored 2 touchdowns at the end. Thank you, Raheem. Appreciate you.
This guy just remembers everything about everything.
Yeah, because he didn't do shit, and then he broke 2 touchdowns off in the fourth quarter when they were up 20. I was like, oh my god, my guy.
Let's look at these rushing stats here. They played the Patriots and beat them 31-17. And Mostert had 50 yards and a score, and Jeff Wilson ran the ball. This is during the sad time when Achane was not playing.
Yeah, which happened often because he got hurt seemingly every couple games. So Devon Achane's the one guy that we don't have really. So just thought he was worth bringing up. We'll talk about him more as we go into the next week as we break down some more running backs. Jason, we have a auction dynasty league that you and me are co-leading this week. It's an auction draft. It's on Wednesday. There's salary cap, there's IR rules, there's contracts. I'm excited to do it with you.
Me too. I'm always excited to do it with you, Alex.
All right, and that wraps up this week's episode. Thank you guys so much for listening. It's not getting better than that. So have a great night. Thank you guys for listening. Follow us on all social media platforms. We're available, and the Sackos Sheet is coming, I promise. So have a great day, night, whenever you're listening to this, and talk to you next week.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Fantasy Football Sackos podcast. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter at the FF Sackos.